Greenwich Village, 1985. Every morning, an old man steps out of an apartment on Sullivan Street wearing a bathrobe and slippers. He shuffles past neighbors, stops at a parking meter, and appears to ask it for the time before continuing his walk. An unmarked FBI vehicle sits nearby, holding a file on this man that is already an inch thick. This is Vincent Gigante, the head of the Genovese crime family, an organization generating over $1 billion in annual revenue through extortion and murder. Despite having wiretaps and testimony linking him to 3 recent killings, the agents cannot move in. Every time they build a case, they hit the same legal wall. Under federal law, a defendant must be competent to stand trial, meaning they have to understand the charges against them. To a prosecutor, a man muttering to parking meters looks like a case that will be dismissed before the first witness is called. For nearly 30 years, Gigante would run the most powerful mafia family in America from a 6-block radius, protected by the very rules designed to ensure a fair trial. Long before the bathrobe, Gigante was a professional boxer who won 21 fights between 1944 and 1947. He didn't talk much. He was a watcher, learning the gap between absorbing a hit and returning one. In 1957, he stepped from the shadows and fired a bullet into the skull of mob boss Frank Costello. Costello survived, but when the case went to trial, the boss claimed he never saw his attacker's face. Watching the system fail to compel a victim to speak, Gigante saw a way to become untouchable. He realized that the law's mechanisms could be stalled indefinitely if the person at the center of the case appeared unable to participate in it. While serving time in Atlanta Federal Penitentiary in 1959, Gigante spent his days studying fellow inmates. He focused on the ones who avoided prosecution by claiming psychiatric illness, noting which symptoms doctors accepted and which files held up in court. He concluded that a sudden claim of insanity after an arrest was weak. To be effective, the medical history had to exist years before the charges were even filed. He tested this theory during a 1969 bribery case. He voluntarily checked into psychiatric wards, accumulating a paper trail of schizophrenia diagnoses and documented confusion long before his court date arrived. This strategy worked. A judge declared him incompetent to stand trial, and the New Jersey prosecution stopped. This victory established his path for the next 3 decades. Every crime he authorized from that point forward would be shielded by a medical record he was already writing. By 1981, Gigante was the official boss of the Genovese family, but he ensured the public saw someone else. He installed Anthony "Fat Tony" Salerno as a highly visible figurehead to draw the attention of federal investigators. Salerno absorbed the weight of the massive 1986 commission trial, eventually receiving a 100-year sentence as the supposed boss. Time magazine even put Salerno on its cover, pointing the entire country toward the wrong man. Behind the scenes, Gigante took further precautions. He banned his own name from being spoken, forcing his capos to point to their chins instead. Between the figurehead boss and the silent communication, Gigante remained legally invisible while running the family from his mother's apartment. In 1990, the government finally indicted Gigante for a conspiracy to murder John Gotti. The move immediately triggered his long-prepared defense machinery. Prosecutors presented surveillance evidence, but the defense countered with the medical history Gigante had been building since the 60s. By stacking decades of hospital records and psychiatric notes, the defense made it legally impossible to proceed. The trial froze for years. The break came when an informant described a meeting inside a bathroom with the water running. Gigante gave a clear order: "Tell them I'm crazy." That single instruction clarified the nature of the bathroom and the muttering. They were specific tools designed to generate the very doubt that was currently paralyzing the court. By 1996, government assembled a team of 14 psychiatrists specifically trained to identify faked symptoms. They watched Gigante in transit and during unguarded moments, looking for the man behind the performance. At the 1997 trial, the jury heard secret recordings of Gigante's own voice. Informants testified that he was making strategic decisions at the highest level of organized crime, while simultaneously appearing too impaired to understand a calendar. The prosecution argued that Gigante had taken genuine physical frailties and deliberately exaggerated them to obstruct the legal process. The judge found him competent, and for the first time in 40 years, Gigante faced a verdict. guilty of racketeering and conspiracy to commit murder. Even with a 12-year sentence, the act didn't stop. From his cell, Gigante continued to run the family, using hand signals and messages passed through visitors. In 2002, the government brought new charges. They didn't focus on Mafia hits this time. They indicted Gigante for obstruction of justice. The performance itself was now the crime. The state was prosecuting the 30 years of medical claims and hospital admissions he had used to stall the system. Every mumbled answer to a doctor and every intake form he had generated became a roadmap of his own deception. On April 7, 2003, the 75-year-old boss stood in a Brooklyn courtroom and finally admitted it was an act. He confessed on the record that he had deliberately misled his doctors for decades. The system eventually ended the stalemate by outlasting the performance. Vincent Gigante spent 30 years studying the protections of American law to find a place to hide, only to have those same rules eventually provide the evidence used to convict him.